Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of the Superpowered Fancast. This is Darren. In this episode, I got a chance to interview the writers of a great new, fun, and funny graphic novel called Parapsychologist. So I got to interview writers Taki Soma and Mark Schey. And Parapsychologist is, like I said before, it's a fun and funny graphic novel. It's kind of like Dr. Katz meets the X Files, where you have a psychologist who has a very unique set of patients, where he deals with anything from going from poltergeists to blobs to all kinds of monsters, and also dealing with his issues with his family and someone who's actually out to get him. So it's very fun. It's actually available today, and I definitely recommend you check it out. So without further ado, here's my interview with Taki Soma and Mark Schey. Uh, First of all, thank you all so much for being on. I just
Thank
read
you.
Parapsychologist and I loved it. So I'm glad you'll hear someone to talk about it. But so I usually do a separate intro. So this will like I'll just do a separate intro, just kind of talking about the book and who you guys are. And if you're ready, we can just kind of jump into questions.
Sure.
That's great. But because the first question I always ask, and I always ask this of every comic book creative that I speak to, is what was your comic book journey? Was there something that you read either when you were younger or when you got older that kind of told you that this is a medium and a genre you wanted to be a part of?
Mark, I'll
Whoever
let you.
wants to go first.
Are we starting like we're going?
Yeah. I'm
We're
sorry.
going.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was,
okay.
I
All
was
right.
kind of like
Yeah, I
starting
mean, so
to.
my earliest memory is Frank Miller's Dark Knight, believe it or not. Like I was a probably teenager, like late teens, and I remember loving it so much just because I mean just and quite honestly, it reminds me of a certain someone's husband in terms of the use of darks and
Yeah.
uh the it was very different from what typical comics were. And I remember my friends all like saying, you got to get this new book. And I got like the first edition of it. And I had a younger sister. And I went to school. And I remember being so worried about it that I put it in a plastic backing. And then I wrapped it in tinfoil, which in hindsight was dumb because it looked like a present. Anyway, we come back from school. My sister had opened it up, put it in the sink, and like run water over it. First edition. And
Why?
I think it was I don't know. I think she was mad that I like was hiding it from her. She was like 6, like 5.
Oh, okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. She's a lot younger than I am. And anyway, that was the first time like I've always been into filmmaking since I was 7. I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark. I forgot to breathe at the end when the ark
Uh,
was opened. I literally
yeah.
my mother had to like walk me to the back to catch my breath while I was watching it because to me it was just like this is the most I was holding my breath. And when I saw that comic, it was the most cinematic feeling. It had that film feel to it, and I realized, wow, there's other forms, and then it even like moved along to Creep Show, where it was like this great Stephen King short stories, and it came with a companion comic book as well. So I actually came in through the film route, I would say, if that's a good enough answer.
Yeah, it's a great answer. And, Taki, what was your journey to comics like?
I was in my late 20s when I got into comics or started reading comics. Um, and like your typical like storylines just like sucked me in like Daredevil, Born Again storyline and like X-Men's Phoenix, Dark Phoenix story and excuse me, Kingdom Come and all that stuff. And uh yeah, I was sucked in pretty deeply. And when I realized that people people make a career out of this, I'm like, this is what I want to do. Yeah. So that's how I got into yeah, that's how I got into it.
Yeah, I love the fact that that like Frank Miller and Chris Claremont, like they still have the ability to inspire. Like I
Mhm.
because as soon as the what you all mentioned were exactly the books that have been inspiring me, especially in comics for decades now.
Yeah.
I got my literally, like when you were talking, I turned, I was looking at my my Dark Knight Returns sitting right next to my Dark Phoenix saga.
Mhm.
So I knew exactly what y'all were talking about. But one of the things I want to talk about is especially going into your um your origins in comics was what was the origin for Parapsychologist as a story? Like how did the collaboration on that work, and were there things that you drew on either personally or things that you loved from like pop culture and entertainment that kind of like crafted into this story for this graphic novel?
Yes to everything you just said.
Yeah,
It's really
I
just
was thinking the same thing.
it's like a combination of all of that. So Taki
Yeah.
and I co-wrote two short stories together in a magnetic press book called Black Box Chronicles.
Yeah.
And we had such a fun time that we stayed in touch, and we became really good friends, and we thought, hey, let's work on something else together. So um, the very start of this project was Taki and I thinking like, what could we work on together? And we were just brainstorming for possibly months, and sometimes we were just like talking, right? And that's kind of like the best brainstorming. We weren't like every time working. We were just, how you doing? What
Looking for
you
a
been
project
watching?
to nail down, right?
Yeah, and then Taki, maybe you could talk about like the initial uh
So I
what you
think
worked
if I
on.
remember correctly, like I kept thinking because we keep being asked this question of like when was that moment the idea came, and it came because Mark just blurted out parapsychologist, while we were talking about a different concept that we were kind of trying to develop, and he just said the word, and I was like, that's what we're gonna work on because that says everything, right? Like, you don't even have to pitch it. You say parapsychologist, you kind of get what it means, what it entails. But I think we were literally just like when we were working on the other project, we were talking about, um, you know, um, titles for this other project, and Mark just said parapsychologist, and I'm like, I love that name. It doesn't belong with this project, but that name, like that's the project. I think
Yeah,
that's how it happened, doesn't that?
something,
Yeah,
it was a while ago, and we
sure.
even finished this book quite a while ago too, which is even
Mhm.
more interesting for us. So it's like we've done other work in between this, so we have to like revisit it like a year later kind of thing. But
Yeah.
like this was yeah, I mean I think that's seems accurate to me as
Yeah.
something along those lines. I remember both of us just stopping because like up until that point we were like wrestling with this other idea, and it was a good idea. It was just complicated. And then
Mhm.
I think I might have mentioned the word parapsychologist, and we both just stopped.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like that fills in the blanks. It's got this like, I don't know, like it's a psychologist who deals with paranormal. It just like both of us lit up and thought like endless story opportunities. And
And it was right
yeah,
up our alley of all the things that we were talking about, just casually or otherwise, right? Like we talk about our past experiences with our own therapists, and our love for, paranormal stories, um, cryptids, and all that stuff.
yeah,
So
it
all of it
did.
like culminated together, and it just made sense.
That's like when you asked like why we said yes to all of it. We were talking about like even our black box stories were about grief. And we had already broached these subjects involving things that people would typically seek therapy for. So this is something that we had discussed even well before the story had appeared to us. So yeah, I mean it was a lot of fun. And Taki, can share stories about her Northwest adventures involving paranormal activities. But like, we had I had a love for the X-Files. I was actually a host of the official X-Files online forum back when it was on something called Delphi Internet Services. It was the official text-based online chat forum for it. So like I go way back, with X-Files myself, and so that's always been in the back of my head as well. So I thought like, this combines, X-Files and therapy and a lot of the things that Taki and I had already discussed. So it just hit, and we both just like immediately were like, let's just do it. This is it.
And one of the things I really like about it is that it has those elements, but it's also just it's fun without trying to be over the top funny. Like it just kind of, I love the fact that it's a that in this world these creatures just exist. Like there's not a
Yeah.
whole lot of having to explain it. Like we're here, they're here, we're living with them, and just uh and then also the characters themselves. Like I just you can run into kind of cliches with the therapist that can't keep his personal life together, but like how do you buck those, because you do in a way. Like the thing that I enjoy about Ron as a character is that he is capable. Like he's not he's not a bad therapist.
Right.
He just has somebody like actively working against him. So like
Yeah.
how do you like kind of keep that as far as like a characterization goes, even when in the collaboration, are there things that you all agree on or disagree on when you were developing the character that that you can talk about?
I
Well,
think
I
I
think
think Ron was pretty like I think we agreed with Ron like compared to everything else in the story. I think
yeah.
Ron was the thing that like we were sure of. We
Yeah,
were
I don't think we even debated about Ron at all, really. Like we both had very similar idea about him from the get-go. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Um uh like we knew he was going to be a very capable therapist, a very caring therapist, because he's a culmination of our both of our like therapists who helped us, and clearly like their success is also our success, and we wanted to showcase that aspect. So like, yeah, Ron was always going to be a very successful, very capable therapist. um yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
but you're
there's also
saying that
something
there were. Oh, I'm sorry. Go
uh,
ahead.
I was just gonna say that I think there's something very fascinating about the helper who needs help themselves also. I
Right.
don't think that's necessarily a stereotype. I think that's human. I think that
Mhm.
some of the bravest looking people or some of the people who are, I think like The Pit is showing, right? It's a very popular show right now.
Yeah.
There's, people who are helping others are dealing with a lot of heavy subjects too. And I think that's what we all are doing, right?
Mhm.
It's not a stereotype, I don't think. I think it's just human.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, and again, just going back to the story, I love the fact that and I don't want to spoil it because I really want people to read it. But I really love the personification of the ultimate evil and how he relates to like the rest of the like fantastical things that we're seeing in the story. But I like the fact that it's such a for so many big uh concepts, it just seems like such a personal story for this character. But what one of the things you all were talking about was that you said you both agreed on Ron right away. Were there things that you wanted that one or the other of you wanted in the story that didn't get in, or were there things that you kind of maybe, and I wouldn't say clash, but maybe you kind of butted heads a little bit about as far as this character or how this
The
character
only
is being
things
perceived.
that I'm gonna say is that we had a lot of ideas on a lot of different characters that didn't make it into the book because it would have been chaos to have that many characters come in. I think that's like the biggest
Yeah, we have a lot of hyphenates. We've talked about this elsewhere, but it's like it's a comedy, it's a family drama, it's about a therapist. It has, paranormal creatures. There's a little bit of like light horror. There's mystery. There's so many hyphenates, and at a certain point you got to go, these are good ideas, but like we have 120 something pages.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you got to like kill your darlings and whatnot. And did we always agree on exactly which ones? No, but that's the point of collaboration, and
Correct.
we just hope and we stand by, this final book, and we hope, people like yourself
Absolutely.
enjoy it. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's
I just regret like not putting in like a lot of the characters that we came up with.
oh, we have
You
like
know,
so many, we have a list of a
yeah, we have a
spreadsheet of
huge
cryptids.
list of like
yeah.
these kinds of creatures would have this kind of conditions and whatever, and it was really, really fun. But obviously, like we needed to have a real narrative, not just, fun characters that come
That's what
in.
sequels are for.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and and that's kind of what I was leading to because I was like, I'm sure a lot of these characters could make their way into a sequel because I really I love the open ending of Parapsychologist. But I think this reason I keep asking is because I'm endlessly fascinated with the collaboration elements of comics, especially sort of like this, either both writer and artist or multiple writers and artists. Like, um, is it a and I'm gonna stumble over my words a bit, but is it something where like one person will write something out, or do you kind of outline and collaborate each moment, or do you just kind of say, "Hey, I've written this. What do you think? And can you add to it?" Or
We
someone
did
says, "Oh,
all of those things,
Yeah, we
actually.
tried everything.
Yeah,
okay,
And
yeah.
and it's a matter of really, I mean, because we had worked together before, and I think the first key was setting the ground rules, creating the initial cast. And I think that was relatively straightforward. Like the family members, um, the children, we needed the character Harper to be the eyes of the audience coming into this new world. We knew we wanted an antagonist, and we of course needed this what started as a dozen or more fun creatures. We had a lot of fun just coming up with like in fact the preview that just went out today has like the Jersey Devil, and I don't is the Jersey Devil even in it? I don't even know if it made it into the final because it was one of
here's the
Kat's
thing.
or illustrator Kat Farris's
Yeah,
original
Uh,
illustrations was a Jersey Devil.
the character designs.
Yeah, yeah. They
Yeah.
just put it out today on one of the other sites,
Yeah,
and
I don't think the Jersey Devil made it into the
so
pages.
there's
like even
a
yeah. Sorry, go.
well, there's a sequence that has like his patients, and again, I'm trying not to spoil anything,
Sure.
where like his current and previous patients, and I
Yes.
think the Jersey Devil is one of
There
them.
might be like hidden
Oh,
in the
good.
back
Yeah, for
frame,
just like
but doesn't actually speak or so.
like a
Yeah,
panel,
yeah,
and just like in a kind of almost like a montage.
right.
But
Yeah, I
but
mean,
yeah,
so some of them did make an appearance, and I'm glad she was able to use them because like some of the original artwork was like fantastic and great little creature designs. Um, but yeah, in terms of like the working collaboration process, so like first you're setting up what's the world like, what's the tone, you know, and I think we knew that the tone we wanted to be a comedy, especially after our previous work, which was very dark, and we just kind of wanted like a palate cleanser. Um,
Exactly.
Also, I'd never done comedy before, and I thought it would be fun to kind of like stretch that. I thought it would be fun to, um, comedy is a little bit more vulnerable than I think a lot of writers will
yeah,
want to admit. You're putting like stuff out there, and it's hard to get to stick. A lot of comedians who go out there, like they're practicing in smaller clubs for a year with material, just waiting for the audience to laugh and whatnot. And Taki and I are kind of like writing this, going, I think this will work. I think this will make someone laugh, but we don't get that immediate feedback. So I think that that's a little
right.
scary as a writer, personally. Um, and then in terms of like, like the actual structure of this book, I think the biggest difference that Taki and I had was I was leaning toward more of X-Files, Buffy the Vampire Slayer kind of feel to it, and Taki kept bringing it back toward family drama.
Yeah.
which I think is the right choice for a first book when we're introducing and meeting all these people. So I do credit her with keeping it a family drama and keeping it from going too out there. I had a bunch of cursed artifacts and things like that going on that I just couldn't get out of my like Buffy mind. Because I was, when I hear parapsychologist, that's where my brain was going. But it turns out that like the real root of the story that we finally fleshed out was, um, the bones of it all is this is a story that would work if it was all humans,
Yeah.
and that's a key. A lot of the stuff that I was presenting wouldn't work if the supernatural didn't exist. But if you think about this story, you can kind of take out most of the supernatural and it still would work. It wouldn't be as fun. It wouldn't have as cool artwork, but it works on a human level as well.
And Taki, I had a question for you because I love Kat Ferris's art in Parapsychologist. I think
Yeah.
it beautifully kind of matches the tone, and I've loved your art for so long. Like Murder Inc. I love the visuals on it. I love like you work on Bitch Planet. Um,
Thank
when
you.
you're writing and not the person that's that's drawing, like how does the um do you kind of have a a different kind of visual language that you use when you're trying to convey something that you would probably be drawing yourself?
Um, I love the challenge of writing a script for other artists. Um, Particularly because I feel very confident in being able to convey exactly what I want, um, but also hold back
Yeah.
to bring their own talent uh, forward. So I don't want to stifle their style and their talent by micromanaging and like describing like exactly what I wanted because I wanted to see what they would come up with the information that Mark and I would give them, and that always delighted me, and it worked out really well because look at the book, it's beautiful and it's well told. She's got really good, not just like the style of her art and the technique is spot on, but that her storytelling, her visual storytelling is really, really good. And
Yeah.
I'm so happy that yeah, we didn't micromanage that.
Yeah, I especially on that front, I love the visual progression of the story, especially the just the visual differences between like Ron's office and his home and the rest of the world and the places that he visits. Like everything feels distinct and different, but all connected visually. So that's I mean that's I think that was what I was getting at because one of the things I hear, especially from writers who are also artists, is that they kind of have to hold themselves back a little bit, make sure when they're writing something they're not, kind of telling the artist how to draw it.
Yeah, how to do
Uh,
their business.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the expert, right? And Kat is an expert, and we chose her because of her previous work being exactly the right tone and fit. So it would be a little weird for us to then be like, no, but do it our way. Like, no,
Yeah,
Yeah.
let her run, right?
Yeah.
Let her go with it. And I think that she did something incredibly important, which is taking all those hyphenates, comedy,
hmm,
drama, grief, all of this, and her artwork just perfectly blends it. It
yeah,
feels like one cohesive work because of Kat. And
absolutely.
and you needed that artist. If you had a lesser artist, I don't think it would have congealed.
Yeah. And the way you all are talking about is the story is that do you because I know I would love to see a sequel, but do you kind of have like that kind that fleshed out? Like, is would it be like another graphic novel, or would it be kind of like a monthly series? Like, I don't want you to spoil it for me, but do you kind of have an idea for where like Ron and his team go next?
I think we do. There's a couple of directions they can go, and it kind of depends on the demand and the reception. I think it can be a monthly comic, it can be another graphic novel, and it can be told well in both format, right,
Yeah.
Mark?
I mean, I absolutely, we designed it intentionally to be a self-contained work, and I hope you feel that as well, that you feel satisfied when you're done. If there's no others, it's got a full character arc and a happy, like a sat not happy necessarily, but satisfying ending. Um, but certainly it lays, it's designed to be. I mean, it's a therapist, and he has an
Yeah,
unlimited number of patients
it's
who
a
could show up.
concept that can keep
Mhm.
going for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I always kind of, especially for me, just reading so many comics all the time, is I always, if at the end of a book, not only am I satisfied with where it is, but I'm interested in where it could go, then that's kind of my measurement of, of my interest in it, in again going forward, because that's
Yeah.
I'm a I usually give something maybe 2 or 3 issues before. Like if it's a monthly, I'll give you 3 issues to
Mhm.
kind of get me on board with your world. Like graphic novels are a little different because you kind of have to almost tell the entire story in that medium. But
Hmm.
and I blow smoke at the end of Parapsychologist. I was like, I want to see what happens next with with the ultimate evil, because that's that it's just so it again. I'm not trying to spoil anything, but it was just so it was fun, but at the same time it had like a really interesting edge to it, to how this entity has a connection to Ron's life. So yeah, I'm definitely on board for the world of this story. So even if you were telling like a different story from the same world and a connection to it, or
Hmm.
continuing this story on, I'm interested. So it's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because I talked to both of you, because I'm uh, reading it, enjoying it, and wanting other people to discover.
Oh,
Yeah, I
thanks.
appreciate that. I mean, that's like the way you describe the ending is exactly how we intended it,
Hmm.
where you feel like you got your full meal, but you want to come back to that restaurant, right?
Right,
You didn't just
exactly.
engorge yourself. You didn't go like, okay, that was good, but like I'm done, right? We
Yeah,
Hmm.
wanted it to be just enough, and I think that that's like, for me, that's the perfect balance, especially for a first book, is that I don't want anyone thinking, oh, this was a cliffhanger, but I also don't want this to be, it's completely finished. There's absolutely nowhere for this to go. And I think that we tried to find that balance, and it's really heartening to hear you kind of
Yeah.
like lay
I
it
mean,
out
it's
exactly how we
always
intended.
it's always a goal for any series to leave the readers feeling very satisfied but want more.
absolutely.
That's the goal, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
But and along those lines, is there something else that you all are working on together, or separate, that you can talk about? Like, are you like still working on the world of sorry, of parapsychologist, or are there like separate, like are there new stories that you're kind of working on either together or separate, that you want to talk about?
Currently, right now, Mark and I are not working on anything in particular, but I would like to talk to him about for future stuff for sure if he's up for it. Outside of that, I'm working on 3 projects, right? That hasn't been announced yet, so yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, based on this reception, you know, I know that we're both up for more adventures of Dr. Ron and his Scooby Gang, if I may,
Yeah.
but kind of is. And
Well, there's a dog.
I
So
yeah, I mean, I think that there's I mean, we have so many stories on the sideline that were excellent but just didn't fit in the first book.
yeah.
So it would be really cool to be able to like revisit some of those. Totally open for it. But right now, yeah, before investing more time, we just got to see, like, do people like this, you know? And that's kind of like how it works before we start writing, two, three, four, or any other mediums.
Yeah. Kind of wrapping up, one of the questions I always ask, especially people in comics, and is without giving me the pitch or telling me the story. I guess we'll start with Taki. Is there a character that you've never worked on that you think you have a great story for, and kind of why? And it can be either a character that it's got to one. It's got to be a character you've never written. So it can be for any publisher, any like that.
Oh, so like any kind of established character
Yeah,
that's
exactly. Like if there's
oh,
a
okay.
yeah.
Well, it's got to be the Spectre because the
Oh,
Spectre
really?
is my favorite character of all time. And he is underused and he is mysterious and because of his like very complicated like history.
Hmm.
It can go in many, many directions, and I think that would be super fun to try and figure out how to like modernize his origin story.
That's a really interesting choice because I've always loved like those characters that they show up and then you want to know more about them. Like so there's like the Spectre, but also like the Question, like
Mm.
characters like that. Like even
Hmm.
like Detective
Or
Chimp.
Dr.
Like,
Fate, like
yeah,
what's
yes,
what's his deal?
yeah, exactly. Dude, I think that would be great. I would love to hear. And again, just not even telling me what the plot is, the character itself just piqued my interest. So
Right?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
It's like I don't, I know about the Spectre, but there's so much that I don't know about the Spectre. And, Mark, how about you?
Man, I can't top that. But like, I I really like Dr. Afra. I think that she needs to be explored more. Um, I'm a big Indiana Jones fan. I love
Mm-hmm.
that gray area. It's kind of like this darker Han Solo meets Indiana Jones. I think that more could be done with
Mm-hmm.
with her character. I mean, she has plenty of great comics, but that's
Yeah.
particularly fascinating for me. And I'd also, this is so basic, but I'd like to take a crack at reinventing the Indiana Jones franchise.
Really?
That would be my dream.
You would kill at it.
Yeah.
You would.
And that's the thing is like,
I have
Indiana
this
Jones.
idea even that would even work with Harrison Ford now too, to be honest. But like it's crazy. Like, but yeah.
I mean, there's so many. But again, there's so many stories you could tell from that world, and even though they were after my time, those movies just reminded me of those old like serials, and I think that's kind of what Lucas and Spielberg were going for. So
Mhm.
there
Yeah,
could
there's no
always,
question,
yeah,
like
there
what
could
I think
always
that,
be more stories, especially during the 40s and 50s. That could be like,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I mean there's just so many interesting stories to tell, I think. Archaeology, history,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, the whole concept of the Indiana Jones is very much like Parapsychologist, where the concept is very simple,
yeah,
and you can have so many different stories based on that very simple concept.
right, right. Like instead of patience, it's MacGuffins, like
yeah,
it's but in the end of the day, it's really about like how Indiana Jones reacts to them. And
Mhm.
that kind of like in Parapsychologist, it's how does Dr. Ron react to them? It's first and foremost his story. So I think there are a lot of parallels there. And I think that um to your point about the original serials, like the Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin and Harold Lloyd. I think that what happens, and I think this is what happens with Star Wars, is we have too many fans writing about the previous movies as
yeah,
opposed to people who are writing based on the actual source inspirations.
yeah.
That makes sense. And I think that going back to the original source material um, could produce some interesting results.
Yeah, I agree with you. And even when you were talking about Afra, like that's a story that's that pushes to the edge of those Star Wars stories with a character that can stay that can step a foot in but stay completely out of it. And I think that's one of the things that makes her work for me in comics is that you know she can just be there and you not really notice her, but there's a bunch of things that she's doing that's affecting everyone around around that you
Yeah.
do know.
Yeah, no, I mean that's always an exciting, behind the scenes kind of characters like pulling strings kind of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's like the way they kind of expanded Mon Mothma and Andor, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit.
Yeah.
Just kind
Yeah.
of giving that character more to do than just being a figure. But
Yeah.
but thank you all so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I really like Parapsychologist, and I'm encouraging everyone to pick it up. And the question I want to add, that one of the last things I want to ask you is that this is if, and it's a big if because a lot of people don't. If you wanted people to follow you online or social media, where can they find
Uh, all the platforms that I'm on is just Taki Soma.
you?
And Instagram for me, Mark S22. And my company is Horrible Future. And on Instagram, it's horrible.future.
Okay, and I'm gonna have links to all of those in the episode description. But Taki Soma and Mark Schey, thank you guys so much. I
Thank you
really
for having
appreciate
us.
you being here. I really enjoy the story, and it comes out this Wednesday, right? April 1st.
Is it
Tomorrow,
like tomorrow? Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Oh,
31st,
Yeah.
okay,
March
the 31st.
31st.
Yeah.
Got it. Like I tend to equate everything with New Comic Book Day, which is usually on Wednesday. But yeah, so it's coming out tomorrow, and I'll have links to where you can pick up a copy of Parapsychologist as well. But thank you guys so much again.
Yeah.
Now,
Thank
Appreciate your
you.
time. Thank you for having us.
Bye.
once again, I want to thank writers Taki Soma and Mark Schey for coming on the Superpowered Fancast to talk about their new graphic novel, Parapsychologist, from Comixology's Originals. It is currently available today. I will have links available, and I would definitely recommend you go to your local comic book store and pick up a copy or pick it up wherever comic books are sold. It's a great, fun, and funny graphic novel series. My full review is available on my website, superpoweredfancast.com. So until next time, this is Darren for Superpowered Fancast, signing off.